listening to the Liquid Shape Podcast with your host, Cody Perez.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Liquid Shape Podcast with Cody Perez.
And Mariah Longfellow.
We're excited to be here, and we are slacking today. We are absolutely slacking. It is Easter Sunday, and that means that today I get to have the fun of editing last minute, and it's been crazy busy, so...
But that's good. It keeps you out of trouble.
I always say that. It always keeps me out of trouble, but it puts a lot of pressure on my ass because I have to edit and fix things around, ask for last minute things.
Yeah, you love it.
Fucking puts the pressure on me when we already have shit going on today. So it's fun, but at the same time, it's crazy. So I've been up bright and early doing editing, getting things ready so that we can get this episode out tonight at midnight, or Monday, I should say. Tomorrow is when people will be able to hear it. And so yeah, here we are, barely doing our segment one, last minute. Nothing like last minute stuff.
Well,
but it's been crazy.
Yeah, but it's all good. It happens. We've just been busy. We had a lot of stuff to do yesterday. It's been nice in the Pacific Northwest. We've had a bunch of sun. Today's supposed to be nice, hopefully. So we're getting summer ready.
So what's happened in the last? Because we had an episode that was earlier last week. What did we film on Tuesday or Wednesday of not this week but last week? So it's been a while. What's been new with you?
Not much new here. I mean, just like just said, getting ready for summer, getting the backyard ready. Planted my zinnias. Waiting for those to start blooming. I love flowers. So.
You've been getting into gardening.
Gardening, yeah.
I love it. It's
been
cool.
one with the soil.
We need to get. I keep saying this. I want a salsa fucking garden. I want. We have that whole section.
We just got to get the yard done first, and then I know where I'm going to put everything.
It would be so nice if we could have our own vegetables and not have to go to the grocery store constantly for jalapenos or tomatoes or any of that stuff. And we have all that land that we can use. Like, why not use it while we have it?
We're gonna, but we got to get the yard done first because the guy said he's going to take a panel of the fence off to get in and out, so I don't want to plant anything to have to dig it up.
That's true. So we did have another person come out to give us an estimate. We're waiting on that estimate next week, hopefully. Reason being is I've had a lot of people come out and they've given us one range to another range of the cost to do this. And it's like, well, it can't be that much. It's a small yard. It's not very big. All we're trying to do is level it out, and we're going to do the rest of laying down the mulch and whatever else we had to do.
Pavers
and shit.
Stuff.
So this guy seems promising. Was recommended to me by a coworker, and he looks like he knows what he's doing. So he shows pictures of his work. Nice. And the other person that we had gone through has not gotten back to me. I've had to actually reach out to them. It's like, your money's coming to you and you're not doing anything about it. Like, why are you slacking? I don't understand when people do this. It's like, I am offering you money. I'm going to pay you. This is going to be a good paying project, and you're going to get business out of me. Who knows what other things I'll hire you for, but you're not getting back to me with quotes. You're giving me excuses, or I forgot, or I thought that I'd gotten back to you. No, look at your text messages. Like, if your bookkeeping is great, what the fuck? Like, I don't like it when people take forever to do shit. If I hire you for something, fucking get it done. I don't like to wait.
Well, and I'm wondering if it's like too small of a job in the sense. I mean, should only take like a day, maybe two tops.
It's not too small of a project. He does tree trimming and shit like that. So it's true. Like, it's just bullshit. I don't know. Like, some people just don't like making money, I guess, or they make bad decisions and don't fucking get the job done. So fucking
not organized.
You're getting me mad just thinking about it.
Okay, well, let's shift gears.
But yeah, since the last week or the week before, I went to Nevada. We played with Drowning Pool. It's a fucking killer show. Badass time. There was probably about, I don't know, maybe 500, 600 people there throughout the day of the festival. Maybe more. Probably more, cool. Actually.
Because it's a brand new festival, right?
Brand new festival. They're planning on doing a yearly thing of it, hopefully, they said. And they'd like to compete with Aftershock in California. So that's pretty badass. The people were awesome. I can't thank the people enough that put on the festival. They were very sweet. One of the owners was super excited when we got there. We parked the van in the backstage area, and she's like, "Who are you guys? Wait, don't tell me." She's like, "Oh my God. And then she says, "Let me guess. Are you guys one of the bands that wears masks and makeup, the only band that wears masks and makeup here. And we kind of just joked around and we said, no, we don't know who the hell that is. And like, no way, yeah, it is you guys. I know what you guys look like. And so she was super excited. She's like, you better play Time Bomb. And so of course we did. We played Time Bomb. It's been added to the set. And Pito killed it. Did an awesome job.
Pito.
You can watch a video footage
And
of him.
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone did fucking awesome, man. American Overdose fucking killed it there. The best part of it was that we strategically went in there with full intentions of, okay, we're going to be an underrated band because we're the only band that's not from the area besides Drowning Pool. All the other bands that played that show were from the state of Nevada. So they were regional acts, or I guess local acts, I guess you would call them. We were more from the regional area. And so we were like, we're going to go in there stripped down, meaning we're not going to bring our lights. We're not going to bring our fog. We're not going to bring our backdrops or our scrims, any of that. The only thing you're going to get is our live music.
And personality.
And obviously us in the outfits that we wear on stage and whatnot. And that's it. And we played at 350, which was prime spot for us because the sun was still out. People were, enough people were there to see us. And everyone was just afterwards, even the city of Nevada gave obviously a shout out to Drowning Pool, but then mentioned, we were the only band that mentioned besides Drowning Pool. And they said that we were a standout act. And so many people came up to us and said, you guys should have played later in the bill. But I'm like, you know what? I think we played at the perfect time because that makes people that much more excited. And then it makes them like, kind of like, why the hell did they not play later? So that made me excited. We had some cops that were there. They were watching the set. I could tell they were watching us from the side of the stage. And right afterwards, like the guys came looking for us, the cops, and they're like, I just want to let you know how great you guys were. 3 songs in, and I was already on Google, Googling your guys' name, adding you, following you, subscribing to your pages. He's like, you guys were really great. And
that's awesome.
We gave stickers and people were buying merch and shit. So people liked us there and they dug us. And I asked the crowd at one point, I said, how many people have heard of American Overdose? And only a couple of people had heard of us, which means we did a good job in going out there because then we got exposed to a ton of people in Nevada that were not aware of us. And so now,
that's right. Saturate them.
That's what you want to do. It's cool to play in front of a lot of people that know who you are, but it's even better when you play in front of a brand new audience that's not aware of you and that digs you, because that's the point of this. You're spinning your wheels in the mud if you keep playing for the same 10 people. And that's what we don't do. We don't play Portland very often, or Salem, this area, for that reason. Other than that, it was a very long drive. We took off on Friday. We stopped in Susanville, California. That's where we stayed at a hotel. And it's about 2.5 hours from Fernley, Nevada. So the next morning we got up early, drove to the festival, played, hung out till the very end of it. And then we drove back to the hotel in Susanville that night, which was 2 hours away, and crashed out, woke up bright and early, and we were back by like 6 p.m. the following day on Sunday. So it was a really quick in and out trip. We had a blast, man. My sides hurt so bad from laughing from the guys. Like, I love hanging out with my band. Like, we just have the best time. We laugh our asses off. We talk a lot of shit, and we pull a lot of pranks that people would be like, God, you guys are really in your 40s? You guys are 40 years old and you guys are acting this way? Yeah. We like to have fun. Fuck you. We're from the generation of MTV,
we're the
Simpsons,
millennials, baby.
The millennials. We're going to have fucking fun, man. We're going to live young till the goddamn last days of our lives. And here's the great thing about I feel like our generation is way more responsible in certain aspects, but also very irresponsible in others. We're a good balance of both when you think about it, because we all still care about, paying our bills, not getting arrested. I mean, I'm not saying this for everybody, but, for the most part, like, I feel like our generation, and we partied fucking hard where, it's easy for someone to say, oh, I've never taken a drug, I've never taken a fucking alcohol in my life. Great. Good for you. I think that's cool. That's awesome that you could do that and not give in to temptation, but you really haven't experienced life and you really can't speak to it when people do talk about it. So I think it's that's why I always say I never have any regrets of my past, because it's been experience that I can talk about. It's something I can relate with people and I can discuss and I can say, fuck, I lived hard. I lived crazy. And some things just would have never happened if it weren't for those moments. So
we were good at partying.
Very good at it. That's why I can still adapt. I mean, I still get tired. And, you saw me Friday when we were hanging out with our friends Friday night. I was like tired. I was like, we got to go home. I got to get up early. I got a long day Saturday. And sure enough, we did. But I can hang when I absolutely need to. If it's a bunch of people and loud music and all that kind of shit, I'll stay up late. I can keep going. But if things are more calmed down and just a couple of people here and there, I'm pretty ready to go to bed.
Yeah, that's fair.
That was my story for this week. Other than, is there anything else that we did this week? Forgetting?
No, I think that's really it. I mean, my big stuff is more stuff I can't talk about because it's work stuff and a couple family things, which is fine. They're good things.
Exciting family things for your parents. But yeah, no, I don't think it's anyone's business.
No, but yeah, things have been good.
I love that.
Things have been good. The sun's coming out.
I got a knife.
Oh, yeah.
Work got me a knife. They catered a barbecue to us, and then I got a Benchmade knife. Pretty sharp. If anyone fucks with me, I'm Mexican with a knife. You never thought you'd see that, right?
God. Anyway.
And we got the boys here. So Taz and Lorenzo get so excited when they see us coming upstairs to the studio.
They love this.
They love being in this room. Like, there's something about this room that they get like all excited about. And they just look around and just like constantly are just excited about it. And they know what's up. So I said I'd give them a little shout out. Here they are, like laying down with you. Yesterday we did a lot of cooking because today we're going to see your parentals. I made them some ribs, some 3-2-1 smoked barbecue ribs on the Traeger.
And I'm going to make some Cajun mac for the fam for both because we're going to see my parents first and then we're heading to Cody's family after. So everyone's getting mac and cheese.
Yeah, Cajun mac and cheese. And then I made a rice that I will be sharing with your parents as well. Yesterday we did burgers and we did carne asada on the charcoal grill because that's how you prefer it. You like it a little charred?
It's got to be a little charred.
Actually, you like it really charred. I don't blame you though because normally I like steak medium, but carne asada, I do like it to have that like burnt feel to it. There's something about it.
Well, that's how like I was introduced to carne asada through Judy's family. They would always do it super charred and they wouldn't like cut it up. They'd leave it in the full piece. It's
the proper way to do it, yeah. I just chop it up because when we have friends over for barbecues and shit, I want to make sure that everyone gets some and like that way people just aren't hogging a whole strip of carne asada, which normally you would, but if we don't have enough and we have like 30 people here, it's like
that's fair, yeah.
Got to make it fair for everybody, but
true.
Yeah, it's been a good week,
and
I'm excited for summertime and concerts. We got Ice Cube tickets.
That's what it was. Yeah, Ice Cube tickets. Slightly Stupid in Salem.
To me, it's a Ice Cube concert. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. It's Ice Cube, Slightly Stupid, Elevators, and there's a couple other bands as well. So I guess it's called On High Festival, and I believe it's their first one.
Salem?
Riverfront. I forget they have the little amphitheater thing right there, but I didn't think we'd get like big artists, but hey.
I mean, American Overdose played. Not saying they were at the level of Ice Cube or anything.
But if you haven't seen Ice Cube, oh, he's amazing. He puts on a great show.
Great show.
We saw him 2024 down at Cali Vibes.
That was awesome. He's not only that, but great musician. I love his rap style. I love his acting, dude. I love all his movies. His movies are all fucking awesome.
They are.
Even the fucking, what was it? The
Are We There Yet?
Are We There Yet? Are We Done Yet?
Yeah.
Both of them are great. Fuck yeah. Yeah, no, he's great. So we're excited for that. And I mean, we got Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie that we'll be going to. I think Five Finger Death Punch is playing with, is it Cody Jinks or who is the person?
I think it's Cody Jinks, yeah.
He's playing with the country artists, which is cool and like a little variety.
And then I'm going to Denver in June for my best friend's birthday, and we're going to go see Dirty Heads. I think I've already mentioned this. Red Rocks. So that'll be fun. I love Red Rocks.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time for you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it because, like I said, we're on limited time. Today's guest is going to be Dani Kaye. We had a great conversation about the healthcare system as she is involved in that. That's what her career is. And great conversation that we had regarding the healthcare system, how messed up it is, and what it takes to be in there. I give all the mad props to anybody that does it and does it with passion, because it takes a lot of empathy and patience, and it takes like actually caring. If you're doing it for the money, as we discussed in the segment 2 that you'll be hearing, it's like that's not the way to go about it. You have to be a person that cares about people and legitimately care, not for the money.
You're gonna get burned out real quick if you're just in it for the money.
Yeah. Make sure to check out segment 2, which is up next. But right now we'll handle the question of the week, and then we'll call it a day for segment 1. This week was: are you becoming who you want to be or who life is shaping you into? Some follow-up questions you don't have to answer all. Where do you feel in control versus out of control? What would you change if you fully took the wheel? What's one step towards becoming more intentional? What part of your current self feels like a conscious choice? And what part feels like a survival tactic? If you stripped away your current responsibilities and titles, who is the person left underneath? Is there a specific dream you've shelved because it didn't fit the life you are building? So we got some great responses, and thank you to everyone that threw in their 2 cents. I love hearing from you all. Like I always say, we love hearing from you all.
You're beautiful.
Yes. So we'll go first to email. And this one came in from our friend John. All right. And John says, every day I wake up trying to be a better husband, a better dad, more present when I can. But I'm the sole provider. So yeah, there's this constant pull. I want to carve out time for me, for growth, but bills don't wait. The real question isn't, am I becoming who I want? It's, how do I steal back hours without tanking income? Life keeps throwing curveballs, distractions, tests, whatever, and I think that's on purpose. Builds character if you don't let it derail you. So I navigate, stay eyes on the goal, even when it feels like the universe is steering. Where do you feel in control versus out of control? Full control? I think that's a myth. We steer, sure, pick up directions, make moves, but the world's spinning whether you're in it or not. I feel in control when I'm choosing my next step. Out of control? When I pretend I'm not the one driving. That's just fear talking. What would you change if you fully took the wheel? Honestly, nothing big. We're already driving. We just don't admit it. Most people hand the keys over, blame traffic, then act shocked when they crash. I just own it. No more excuses, no more life did this to me. Responsibility is scary, but it's freedom too. What's one step towards becoming more intentional? We're all intentional already. Getting up, eating, scrolling, arguing, it's just sloppy careless. Cut, pause, ask, why am I doing this? If it's autopilot, swap it. Self-control isn't magic. It's picking better distractions on purpose. What purpose feels conscious for choice versus survival tactic? Most of it's conscious. I show up present. I grind because I choose to survival. The baseline work, smile at the boss, pay rent. But here's the kicker. Too many treat it like a life sentence. I don't. I know I could tweak it, upgrade it, stop surviving, and start thriving. Most people just don't think that far. If you stripped away responsibilities and titles, who's left? Just a guy who wants better for me, for my wife, for my kids, everyone close. Someone digging deeper into himself, chasing real connection with spirit. No labels, just that hunger to level up. Any dream you shelved because it didn't fit? No, not shelved. It's mid-build. Right now, I'm laying bricks, foundation first. My goals, they're huge, over the top. People laugh, call them crazy. But if it takes 5 years or 50, I'm in. Why? Because when I hit them, it'll lift everybody around me, not just me. That's the point. And one of the most satisfying things is proving people wrong who say you can't.
That's right.
I love that. Those are all very well thought out responses. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I feel like too many people, I think we've said this before, there's a lot of people that feel like life happens to them and not for them. And that's a mindset.
Yep.
It's mind shift.
Yep.
You know, everything happens for a reason. And many times people will look for excuses as to why they can't reach their goals or why they can't do certain things. Or they'll say, well, I'll do that later. Well, why later? I get your plate is full. I get that you're busy. I get that you have this going on. I get you have that going on. Just add another thing on there.
Yeah.
And you'll know.
It's just going to be the same cycle.
Yeah.
You're going to get it done. You always have an excuse.
Tomorrow's not promised, as
No.
many know. And you're going to continue saying, I'll get to it eventually. I'll get to it eventually.
Yep.
At least start somewhere. Build, like he said, the foundation. Start the foundation of what it is that you want, and every day come in present and be intentional with everything that you do. If you're just sitting around scrolling on your fucking phone, which a lot of us do, and I'm guilty of it when I'm bored, but a lot of times here's when I do it. I've been noticing that I'm doing this more now when I'm waiting for something that I need to be.
Worry.
Wow, someone failed that. Big distraction. Anyways, so if let's say I'm at the store somewhere and I'm in line about to check out, it's one of those situations where you have to go through a person, not self-checkout. I'll look at my phone, I'll look at my messages at that point. I'll take a look and see what I can respond to or what I can do. I like to kill things and get things out of the way. If something's waiting, I just like to get it done. Pull the fucking Band-Aid off and just make it happen, or get to the next level of, you know, if what I need to do requires me to wait on somebody else, I just get to my part of it and say, all right, now the ball's in your court. I'm waiting for you to get back to me. If you don't get back to me in a couple days, I'm going to be fucking annoying you, and I'm going to say, where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? And a lot of times I don't even wait. If it's something that's, if time is of the essence, I will reach out to you, shortly after and say, hey, I need this now. I need this now.
Yep.
But I try to do my scrolling then. Or if I'm just at home and we're watching TV and we're bored or whatever. But even then, when we're sitting down, I like to be working on things, whether it's band related or podcast related or whatever the hell. So, and you see me, like, if we're cooking something for dinner, I know something's for dinner, I go to the grocery store early as fuck in the morning, get that out of the way, prep something.
Because, grocery stores give me anxiety.
I don't like waiting around for people to do things and shit like that. And so I like that John says that everything's intentional that he does. And I 100% agree. When I wake up in the morning, I'm just like, thank God I get another day. And who's the person underneath afterwards? It's like, it's just that guy that's chasing to better myself. I'm not competing with anyone else. I'm better. I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. So thank you, John, for your comments and wise words. All right. So the next one here is from Facebook. This one comes in from Dave Z. Harris, my buddy. Shout out to Dave. Thanks for responding, Dave. Some great questions. I'm going to give a blanket answer. Yes. Yes is my new word. Or my new question is, what next? Sometimes, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, I ask myself, what's next? What's going to be next after this next decision I make? Is it going to be something I'm going to like or something I'm not going to like? An important question for anyone to ask themselves before doing anything. Is this going to be good for your life or take you down a path you've already been down before? The word yes to me means a lot more than it used to before too. I don't just say yes to the things that I want to do anymore. I say yes to me being valuable. I say yes to treating myself like the kind of person I deserve to be treated as. Yeah. I say yes to new things now instead of balking at them or feeling childish or insecure or fearful of change. Love that. I say yes to change now, especially if it means growth. I say yes to hard things. I say yes to going to the gym, even though I just work an 11-hour day and I'm fucking tired, because guess what? It makes me feel better in the end. So I say yes. And I say yes to this post because I love it and I love seeing things like this. Fucking Slayer. I love that. It goes back to what I just said right now. It's like tomorrow's not promised and you don't know what you're going to find. Like going to the gym, yeah, it does suck. It's working out in general. I mean, we don't go to the gym. We have our own little gym setup kind of at home that we can do our workouts and whatnot, because I can't be around people. I hate people.
Well, it's kind of like, have you ever seen that one meme that's like when it talks about things that are hard, but choose your hard? So it's like being unfit, overweight, whatever, versus working out. Choose your hard.
It's a lot harder to be unfit. Really, it is. You have a lot of struggles with that, and that's not to shame anybody that's unfit. You gotta get the body moving. It's not good for you. You're not gonna live very long. If it's gonna be very uncomfortable. So that's just one example. But yes, you just don't. It's exciting, and like you said, the fearful that part really stuck out. It's like, don't be afraid. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Unless you're doing something dangerous that's like gonna hurt yourself, potential self, or others.
Then pause.
Stop and really think about it then. But like, if someone invites you out to, let's say there's I don't know, like, we're just trying to throw something out, like a game night or something, and you hear, oh, there's going to be these people that you probably don't know, and these people, you never know, you might meet your best friend there, your new best friend. Like, so opportunities, when they come up for a reason, and life is all about the choices you make, obviously, and perspective is everything. So I like this idea of saying yes, because we don't know if tomorrow's going to happen or not. So if something gets presented to you, there could be a very good reason why life is leading you in that direction.
That's what I always say. Everything happens for a reason. Pay attention.
Right. Next one is from James. I'm going to butcher this last name. Can you say it? And I know James.
Oh gosh, Gorlitz.
All right, James Gorlitz. And I know James for a while here. So, but I suck at names, and so I'm sorry about that. I suck with names and last names especially. James says, I wanted to be an infamous rock star like Manson, Ozzy, Gigi Allen, or Tommy Lee. I've been told I have a great metal voice and I can hit the highest highs and lowest lows in almost an instant, but my crippling anxiety, shyness, and the fact I can't write for shit has stopped me. I even was invited on stage to sing Walk and failed miserably because I froze and a couple hundred people watched me do it. Most embarrassing time in my life. Cool though. I was joking with a lot of people about it and got a couple of free drinks. I have not shelved that dream just yet because It's my ultimate dream. I know I can get past it because I was able to do Rock the Wolf's part with green jello and the three little pigs. Hell yeah. Well, that's a great dream to have, James.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to get started and do what you want to do. And I totally get that. The shyness. And what's funny, James, is that many musicians, whether they're local, regional, national, international, if you watch documentaries or listen to podcasts that have a lot of these musicians or artists or even like actors and actresses, being shy is not uncommon for a lot of these people. You see them on these big stages in front of all these thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but people still they're still very shy personalities. And it's one of those things that it's not uncommon. So I think it's more, how do you nudge yourself a little bit closer and closer to getting to just doing it. And then eventually that shyness also, you'll always have that awkwardness feeling kind of, because I still get shy. So start writing at home. Start writing. Just consistently write. No matter how bad you think it sucks, no matter how horrible you think it is, keep writing, keep recording, and then eventually listen to it. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Make notes. Go back to those recordings. Go back to whatever it is that you're doing, and adjust what you don't like about it, and then highlight on what you like. And then how are you going to fix those things you don't like? Think about that, and then work on improving those things. And then those things that you're great at, make sure that those stand out on the front. And then as far as performing in front of people, sometimes if you just go to if you know there's a karaoke bar, or, you know, it's a local show that doesn't have very many people, and someone hands you the mic, it's easier for you to probably perform if there's not very many people there. Because guess what? If there's like 5 people there, what's the worst that's going to happen? Maybe you fuck up on a note, or you hit the wrong note or whatever, or lyric. Start small, but start building towards it, because you can do it, man. I believe in you, and it's one of those things where, again, don't wait until tomorrow. Start working on it today.
Yep.
So that, you know, a week from now, or 2 months from now, a year from now, you're going to be able to be like, hey, remember when I was not even able to get on the stage, or even
now it's no big deal.
Now it's no big deal, or I'm better at it. Or I'm one step closer, 5 steps closer to where I want to be.
Absolutely.
So
I like that he was able to laugh it off, though.
Yeah, you can laugh it off.
I think that's huge too. So you're not like in your head fully.
Yeah, you just got to start taking steps. You can't sitting around waiting and talking about it will get you nowhere. It's spinning your wheels in the mud. Work towards something to get better at the things that you're unsure of. And the only way you can get better is by doing over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm still constantly myself. I'm still constantly working on my voice, constantly working on my lyrics, constantly working on my timing, constantly working on everything, because I don't consider myself a great vocalist. I consider myself a great entertainer. But for vocals, it's always something I've struggled with, so I'm constantly working on it. And you see, Mariah sees me, I'm singing at home constantly, and I fuck things up. I fuck up lyrics a lot for other bands, but then like it's like whatever. I'm just having fun with it. I fuck up notes, I fuck up things like that. It's all in fun. At the end of the day,
gotta be able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, laugh at yourself, and the only way you're gonna get better is by doing constantly. Repetition, man.
Exactly.
Repetition.
You got this.
Next one came in from Jacob Lawing. Jacob says, who life is shaping me into? 2, in control on social media, out of control with my kids. I think he's answering the questions by the number that I may not make sense to you guys, but you can always refer back to the questions. Number 3, I would invest in better filming equipment. Number 4, talking from the heart. Number 5, conscience choice social media for no profit. Survival showing up at work to pay bills. 6, a dreamer. 7, becoming a rock star. Yeah, I mean, I have to kind of agree with Jacob on this. Who life is shaping me into, I think that's where I'm kind of at. And that's the way I kind of look at it. Yeah. Because I have these goals and I have these dreams that I want to be. Am I exactly where I want to be? I'm going in that direction. Mm-hmm. But life has taken me some curves and put some hurdles in my way. It's been a long journey, because I want to do music for a living. That's my goal. I'm still doing music right now, which is to me an accomplishment in itself. But it was a dream I had when I was 13, and now I'm playing big bands and big festivals and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. I've got 4 albums out, or 3 albums out. Working on the 4th one. Fourth one's done, about to come out. So that's exciting. So it's. I feel I hear you on that, Jacob. I feel like I'm who life is shaping me into. That's where I'm at.
Well, and then the number 2, where do you feel in control versus out of control? And he says, in control on social media, out of control with my kids. God bless you on that, man. I know kids are, that's a beast. So all the parents out there. Cheers to you.
Better you than me.
Yes, absolutely. I have dogs for a reason.
Yeah. All right. And then the next one comes in from James Browning. James answers number 1, a little of both. Personally, I'm who I want to be, a devoted and providing father and husband. Career-wise, what life chose me to be. A, I don't feel in control of much of anything at the moment, just how I react to whatever isn't in my control. 1, 2, 3. What would you change if you fully took the wheel? He says, not sure of the question. Okay, and then he says, D, as sad as it sounds, it's all survival at this time. Or survival all the time. E, a loving father and husband, a person who thought they would never live past 25, and now that I'm constantly confused and unprepared for what I should be doing. F, I always wanted to be a chef. I love cooking, went to culinary school and all. After graduation, I had my first child and got married, so that took precedence over anything I wanted. I'm not overly sad about it, though. I have 2 badass kids and an amazing wife. Hell yeah, man. That's what it's about, your happiness. And if you wanted to be a chef and still do the family thing, I believe in you. I believe that you could do that. There's a lot of people that are able to do that, even if it's on for example, on a weekend basis. Let's say you take on a part-time job. Doesn't even have to be a full-time weekend job. It's just a part-time job just to like get that energy or get that feeling of, yeah, I'm doing something I was passionate about, and it doesn't take you away, hopefully, from the family too much if you were to do that. So I believe that you could do that if you really wanted to, but then again, I'm sure I don't know what your schedule looks like or what that all looks like, and so I won't speak too much on that, but I love this. Yeah. The next one came in from Tristan Sanchez. Tristan says, becoming a vocalist, been practicing for 2 weeks, not good, but getting there. And that's what you got to do. You got to keep going. Like I just said right now, I've been doing this since I was 13 years old, and I'm still not good. I still don't think I'm good enough, but I think that's the chase that makes us better, is that drive of, I want to be better. I want to be better. When you get cocky and you get confident and you get stuck in your ways, that's when you're just like, you're, I don't know. I feel like you're at that point, you're just kind of like, why are you doing it then if you're so great?
But also, you have to keep in mind, too, even when you do get to where you feel like you're great, I mean, even like rock stars, comedians, all those people, even if they've been doing it for a long time and they have a big following and they do, quote unquote, make it big, they still have times where they don't do as that great. So it's always just remember, like, not every time you're performing or in front of people, it's going to be perfect. Like, it's just life, So I think it's a helpful reminder just to kind of go with the flow, too. Like, you're going to keep building your skills and getting better and better, but just know that it's not going to be always perfect.
Exactly. So keeping in mind that little progress is better than no progress.
Absolutely.
Doing something is anything that's worth doing, you got to put work into it. Absolutely. It's going to take time.
And then just kind of like we were mentioning earlier too, you have to always be able to kind of laugh at yourself too. Like always stay humble. Just it's like I kind of bombed, but this is what I'm taking to my next show. I'll remember not to do it XYZ or whatever.
Exactly. So keep going. Last one came in from curated by Princess Vic. I am definitely becoming who I want to be. It's a process. Totes fun. In control of the energy I give out and take in. Out of control. The people around me. I wouldn't change anything. I want to do the work. It's a journey. Love that. I love that. I love it when people say that they're willing to put in the work, and that they're okay with the bumps along the road, and that they'll do whatever it takes. Like I said again, anything worth doing is going to require work, dedication, drive. There's going to be failures. I won't even call them failures. If you're learning from it, it's not a failure. Absolutely. It's a lesson. Yeah. It's a lesson. So.
And we should always keep learning.
Always. So let's go with our responses, and I'll let you go first.
All right. So the question: are you becoming who you want to be, or who life is shaping you into? I think a little bit of both. And I say that because I think when I was younger, I think it was more about who life is shaping me into, just because of experiences that, like I've said a million times, I think we all go through things that we're supposed to go through, good and bad. It's how makes us grow, challenges us, makes us stronger, that type of stuff. But I would say now, being 41, I think I'm becoming who I want to be. I like where I'm at. I like who I am. I don't take myself too seriously. I can laugh at myself. And I've kind of shifted too. Like for the longest time, I was like, I guess career-wise, I'm like, I want to climb the ladder, climb the ladder, climb the ladder. But now that I've gotten a little bit older and just, I guess the state of the world, all that stuff, everything's so intense that I'm like, you know what? It's taking away from me. And you know what? I'm not trying to climb the ladder. I just want to make a decent, good salary that I can live on and still do the things that I want to do. But I like being able to clock off and not have people contacting me at all hours of the night or weekend or whatever. I like to step away from that and be me and find what makes me happy outside of work.
I love that. I would never want to be in a job that requires that.
No.
No money in the world is worth that stress.
No money in the world is worth my peace. And I'm not losing my peace for a fucking title, a certain number salary. To me, I don't see that anymore. I'm not chasing money anymore like I used to. Like in my mind, it was like, oh, you got to do this because of money, title, money. And I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I just want to do my thing, help who I can at work, and then come home and be with you and the boys, my family. So, where do you feel in control versus out of control? Just for the whole span of my life, I think I don't know that I ever really felt in control, where I feel I do now in a sense. Like, I think I was always just kind of living in the moment, just it is what it is. But now having that mind shift, I don't know if control's the right word, but I feel like I'm on target of where I need to be. Like my life isn't chaos. Again, it was just kind of releasing things. Like I am giving this to God or whatever. Like I'm not going to sit here and stress and spin out. And in doing so, I'm like, I'm more relaxed. I'm not saying I don't have my moments. I don't feel like I'm not where I should be or constantly down on myself. Like, oh, we didn't do this or that, or we're not here. Or we're not like so-and-so. It's fuck that. Like, just step back from it, breathe. This is my life. What do I really want? What's meant for me will come. I'll be put in the position for that. But also keeping eyes open of what are the signs? Because life gives us signs, no matter what you believe in, what whatever, but it's being open to them and,
It's kind of what John said. You're driving in a direction.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the GPS is going to take you down the ways or guide you in a sense. There's going to be bumps. Maybe the GPS, the road you're taking, there's going to be bumps along the way that you're not aware of. The GPS doesn't tell you everything. You're going where you want to go, but the direction that you want to go. But there's going to be things that come along the way, bumps and what have yous. And so.
Yeah. What part of your current self feels like a conscious choice, or what part feels like a survival tactic? Well, this is what I love. I don't feel like I'm in survival anymore. I was for the longest time. So now I feel like everything I do, I fully analyze every option, every choice I make, or I'll sit on it for a few days and just really mull it over before I just blindly jump into something, where before it was like there was a little bit of just kind of chaos, or, oh, this sounds perfect, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for it without just sitting with it and seeing like, this sounds great. This is what I want, but is it really the right way or the right next step? So that's where I feel balanced now until I say that now, and Monday morning comes and I check my emails and I'm pissed. No. If you stripped away your current responsibility and titles, who is the person left underneath? This is a big thing for me. I try to separate Mariah from my career or my title or whatever. I've never been one of those people that's like, oh, hi, what do you do? Like, that's not the first thing I ever ask when I meet people. Because I don't care what you do. I mean, honestly, I'm like, I want to know you. Who is, the person in front of me? Your career is just how you make money. I mean, I guess they blur together sometimes, but, I don't care that John is the top salesman in his company. Well, good for you. But like, who's John outside of that? Or who's Wendy outside of that? So I'm just me. I'm Mariah. I'm silly. I'm goofy. I'm lovable. I'm learning that my new dream, I want to be a flower farmer. So if someone wants to give me some farmland.
The mushroom planter guy?
Yeah. I don't know. I've been following a lot of things on Instagram, and I'm like, that just looks like, I'd love, like, Mariah's turning into her garden era. So it just looks like so much fun. I don't know. It's just amazing.
We're going to have to put your money where your mouth is once the land is flattened out, because I'm going to be watching you, and I don't want you killing those flowers or the veggies. So it's all going to be put on you. I'll help where I can, but that's your project.
No, stay away.
I'll probably overwater it or something.
I know. So I'm like, you stay away, sir. Is there a specific dream you shelved because it didn't fit the life you were building? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, when I was younger, growing up with MTV, like in the late 80s, early 90s, like the biggest thing that always stood out to me was like Michael Jackson, and just like seeing, there was just something about him and like his aura and the shows that he did. So that made me want to be a performer. I really did. I loved dancing, and it's like, and especially like all the cool dance moves like MC Hammer had and stuff back in the day. So when I was younger, I was like, I want to be, it wasn't necessarily a singer, but it was like a dancer or like, I don't know, entertainment in some way. Yeah, but I don't know. I just never really took any steps outside of that, I guess. Like I never took dance. I never did anything. So
then the passion really wasn't there. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And now like looking back at it, I'm like, I don't know that I would have felt fulfilled with that.
Probably
if
not.
That makes sense.
Probably not.
I just like, but don't get me wrong. You get Mariah out on the dance floor, she's gonna bust some moves,
and you can bust them out. You're pretty good at it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So that's Mariah.
That's you in a nutshell. All right. So for me, are you becoming who you want to be or who life is shaping you into? I feel like it's both, but like I was mentioning earlier, it's whose life is shaping me into. Because never in my life did I think that I would go down the path of drinking and partying. That wasn't it wasn't my goals. If anything, it was against what I wanted to do when I was younger, when I saw my dad and family members that were struggling with addiction. It was one of those things where I didn't want to do. I looked at them and I said, I don't ever want to drink. I don't ever want to party. I don't want to get myself down a path where I'm losing friends and family and destroying my life because of these addictions. I don't want to be addicted, and I don't want to have a rough road. So, of course, you get into high school and you get social atmospheres, and that's the norm to do. Growing up, I gave in. And next thing you know, I'm drinking, partying, and smoking, doing all the things I said I would never do. And that's just a way of life. I feel like that's a life shaping me, not what I wanted to be in control of. I've always done music because I loved music, and I told myself I would be doing music. So I feel like I am doing that in that aspect. Yeah. So that's something that I'm intentionally doing. But the whole part of like addiction and with drinking and partying, life shaped me down this path of I went through the addiction, lost the friends, lost family members, whatever. And now I hate saying the word recovery. I know that's a very common thing, but I never went to rehab. I never went to AA or any of those type of things. It was my own choice to quit, and I was ready to be done. So I don't know if I call it recovery. I just say when I decided to take back control of my life, it changed a lot of things for me. It was very eye-opening. I saw someone post this the other day about how they were, was it 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I forget what it was. They mentioned that they were 3 weeks sober and how they still have a long way to go, but they already felt so good. And I was just thinking, I'm like, it's only going to be better. It only gets better with time because the clarity comes back. You discover new things about yourself. Depending on how long you've been in your addiction or in your bad habits, you lose yourself. You lose pieces of yourself, or you forget things about your passions, your drives, your loves, what means anything to you for so long. Like for me, it was over 20 years of partying and drinking and whatnot. So that was part of my personality and who I became. Getting sober, I'm still finding out things and passions that I love. People are like, you never like that, or you never like do it. That was the old version of me. Like this is a new version of me. This is something that is changing in me, in my heart, and in my things. Like right now, more than ever, family means everything to me. And I love having my time with you guys, with the dogs, with you. And I appreciate even just sitting out in the back patio, like, or whatever, like taking the dogs for a walk or whatever. I enjoy those moments. Like those are things that if I was drinking and partying and all that, I never thought about that stuff. I didn't care. It was just whatever. When we were driving in the van, I would party in the van back in the days while we're driving and get all wasted and drink with the guys and laugh. But this time it's like I was driving or Justin was driving, and I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying the conversations we're having, the laughs, and I appreciate that. And even going into it, I knew that was going to happen, that we were going to be in the van for 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever. And we were going to have conversations. I was excited for it, for our laughs and our just goofiness. So I would say it's a little bit of both for me, as far as I'm becoming who I want to be, but also who life is shaping me into. I didn't think I'd work in the field that I work in, and here I am, and I'm enjoying it. I love what I do. So that's just a part of something that came into my life that happened. It wasn't something I aspire to be. Where do you feel in control versus out of control? Well, I don't feel in control of how people react to certain things. I don't feel in control of the hurdles and the bumpy roads that life is going to throw at me, but I feel in control of how I react to it. It's all, like I said again, it's all about perspective and me trying to challenge myself to look at things in a different way versus this is happening to me. This is happening to me. Well, why is this happening to me? I'm thinking now, what is a lesson to be learned here? What can I gain from this? How can I turn this loss into a lesson? So that's kind of where I feel like I'm in control, and me accepting that there's a lot of things out there that are out of my control, but the one thing I can control for sure is how I react and how I perceive it and how I choose to move forward or put up a wall and say, nope, that's not for me. That person's not for me. This route is not for me. I'm going to turn this way. What would you change if you fully took the wheel? I don't know that I would change anything because I'd be kind of boring. If I knew exactly that life was going to go down this way or what have you, like what would be the point? That, Yeah. I think the lessons and the unknown is exciting. It's a challenge. It adds to the challenge. Let's see. What part of your current self feels like a conscious choice and what part feels like a survival tactic? Well, I feel like everything's kind of survival tactic for me as far as like the bumpiness. I have to make the best decisions that come my way at that point. So it's in survival mode. If it's something as simple as like, I know I got to be at work by 5:30 tomorrow morning, I'm intentionally going to set my alarm for 4:30 or 5 o'clock or whatever to get there. It just depends on what it is. But if something happens on the road, then I got to figure out, okay, how am I going to get to work? Or like I feel like it's a little bit of both on that one too. If you stripped away your current responsibilities and titles, who is the person left underneath? I would say the person underneath is a person that has a lot of passion, a lot of drive, a lot of hard work ingrained in their mind and determination of all things. I'm very determined to be the absolute best version of myself today that I can be. And I'm better than I was yesterday. I'm 1,000,000 times better than I was the month before. I'm 1,000,000,000 times better than I was 5 years ago. That is where I'm at with who I am if you strip down everything around me. And it's that constant chase of wanting to be better. Not better than anyone else, better than my version that I'm at today. And that's what drives me every morning. That's what makes me wake up and say, hey, I got to put work into this. I got to put work into that. I got to put work into this. I got to give my best every single time. I got to keep credibility. That was a huge reason for me wanting to get sober, was I felt like I lost complete credibility and respect and all that kind of shit. And I feel that people take all of those things for granted, and those things are the real things that matter to me. And that's about it for me as far as answering the questions. So the boys are here breathing all heavy, like they're acting like they've put in some work or something.
They're acting like they pay taxes.
Yeah, you don't pay taxes or rent, little guys. Shout out to Taz and Lorenzo, my babies. They're right here with us. So that's it for segment 1. Stick around for segment 2 that's up next with my guest, Dani Kaye. I'm excited for that one because there was a lot of things I did not know and I learned from just the conversation. So be sure to stick around. How's it going, everyone? We are here on segment 2, and I'm very excited that we have a guest here that I actually know. I actually met at one time. Her name is Danielle. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. I haven't talked to you in a while, and the way that we met was I was on tour with Mushroomhead, American Overdose, and we met out in what city was that we played?
I believe that was Milwaukee at that time. Of course, we were talking quite a while before then, but when
but
made
actually
it to
met.
Wisconsin,
I think it was met.
Yeah, it was somewhere in Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure.
It was either Milwaukee or we played a couple of shows out in that direction or in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe no, it wasn't La Crosse, or is that how it's called?
Yeah, we do have a La Crosse. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It wasn't that far up, but it was. It was out that way.
I recall it was like a bar / like it was a divided bar venue. Like it was part bar and part venue. Am I thinking of it correctly? Like
it
there's
was pretty.
You go through.
Yeah, it was pretty small, and I remember you were actually like not feeling super great that night too. But it was nice to meet up, and Mushroomhead was there. I do remember that you guys were there, and the bar was in the middle. It was just kind of a split, small venue. So
yeah, I think it was towards the end of the tour, and my throat was just so jacked up from that tour. That was the first time I ever had to sing like 35 days in a row. So I was like done for. But yeah, good times. I'm glad that we got to meet. And I know that you you like to listen to all sorts of good music. So we have similar tastes in music and that. And, you have some friends in the scene as well from what you've told me, so that's cool. So go ahead and tell the audience about yourself. I'll let you own it here, and then as you talk about whatever you feel like telling us about yourself, and then from there I'll just ask questions.
All right, sounds good. Yes, well, my name is Danielle. I born and raised in Wisconsin. I did move away in 2016, but Wisconsin is my home base. That's where I currently am now, actually, visiting friends and family. Really, from a young age, I actually wanted to work in the field of computers. That was kind of my love, and I thought that's what my career would end up being, but ultimately I was kind of detoured into the medical field. I have a lot of medical people in my family, and so I was kind of surprised I didn't naturally just go that way from the beginning. But when I was in high school, I was actually sitting in my accounting class, and I had a teacher come up to me at the end of class one day, and he's like, "There's a nursing home here in town." And I grew up in a tiny town of population like 1,500 people, so really small.
Wow.
And he's like, "I think it'd be a great opportunity for you if you're interested. They're looking for a receptionist at the nursing home. And if you're interested, I will put in a word for you." And I'm like, "Well, sure. I'd love to help out and be more than happy to make a little income as, I'm going through school too." And that's really just what kickstarted everything off. So I switched from computers and just totally went into the medical field after that. So my life has just been consumed by my love for helping people. I've always been a pretty empathetic person, and I just love helping out any way I can. So I thought it'd be a good idea to bring this up as a topic to talk about, because at any given point, we do become part of the medical system, whether we want to or not, unfortunately.
What part is it that kind of piqued your interest where you were like, all right, I want to take this a little bit further and get more hands-on with actually in doing more than just what was it, the clerical work that you were doing?
Yeah, yep. It was just front desk, answering the phones, directing people where to go, things like that. So I think really what triggered my love for it was there were 3 separate wings, but I was closest to the Alzheimer's and dementia wing. And so with that, we'd have a lot of wandering patients, but a lot of them would be, super nice, and some of them would still be with it, and they would come up and they would talk to me. I remember I had a patient that was completely deaf, and she was actually like trying to teach me sign language, and like we would write back and forth together. And so
that's sweet.
Since then, like geriatrics is just kind of my thing. So I think it was just kind of meant to be type of thing, because who expects their accounting teacher to walk up to them with this type of an opportunity? So I just fell in love with it.
I definitely have a soft spot for elderly folks like that. It's just, I don't know, it always reminds me of my grandma. And we all get to that age. Hopefully we get to live a long life and get to that point. So you got to remember that. And it's like those people that live that long, they put in their time and contributed to society, and, taking care of them is really important. Dementia is one of those things that always kind of has scared me. And I say that not to offend anyone, but it's always scared me just because I've been close to it. My grandma that I was really close to, and I've talked about her on this podcast before. She had dementia, and her and I were really close. She raised my brother and I. And so I got to see over time, like what dementia does and how sad it is. And to me, it was always scary because she didn't recognize me. And before I was like one of her favorite grandchildren, and she'd always confuse me for her son, which was my uncle or one of my uncles or one of my other cousins. So with dementia, you've never felt like, I don't know what it was that scared me, but did you ever feel like you were kind of like, I don't know, like how to react in this, or did it ever intimidate you in any way or like that? Or
not really, not so much. There was one instance where one patient was so bad they actually became a little violent at one point to where I had to jump over my desk. Ooh. So, I mean, it was a little scary, but I do understand just the process of what kind of happens in those scenarios as far as from their point of view. Obviously, they can't help that.
Yeah.
And But even when it comes to like mental health type stuff, I have just a really good ability to not have things like that scare me, because I try and look at it from their point of view and understand from like what's going on within their mind. And it just kind of makes that easier to try and navigate. I think the hardest part, though, I did have an instance where this lady, her husband had passed, and because she was super forgetful, every single day she would come down and she would ask where her husband was. And so people have, this, confliction of like, don't lie. You should never lie, right? But in instances like that, it came to a point where you kind of had to. So like I would tell her, he went and he just went to go get some groceries, because if you told her every single day and reminded her that her husband had passed away, she would start crying. And at some
I can't
point,
imagine.
it'd be horrible. I mean, to relive your spouse's death. In that instance, lying is not something that you can really feel too bad about, in my opinion, because otherwise you're just re-inflicting that pain on a daily basis. So that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do as far as dealing with dementia patients there.
I just couldn't imagine that, like, having to tell someone that. It kind of reminds me of that movie, was it 50 First Dates? Did you ever see that movie with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Like where he has to keep reminding that girl what happened or how they met and the accident that she was in and all that. Like, I can't imagine having to explain that to somebody and then just watching their heart break. And that would just, that would tear me up. Like I can get real sensitive to that kind of stuff. I know it's kind of hard to believe for some of my listeners out there probably, but that kind of stuff just, it shakes me up. So I can't imagine. And like I said, I think that with dementia, it's one of those things where, with the elderly, you kind of have to treat them kind of like a little kid, because you wouldn't tell a little kid certain things that you're just not, they're not ready to hear or listen to. And so, more mad props to you for being able to deal with that kind of stuff, because it does take a lot of patience. You mentioned that you have to be empathetic for this type of work. And unfortunately, I don't know what it is, but there has been a lot of cases where I've had family members and friends that experienced folks in like hospitals and whatnot not be so friendly and not be so caring and what have you. And it's like, for a job like that, you have to be, because you're dealing with all sorts of things, and people don't want to be there, for one, the hospital, and then you're dealing from anything from people that are sick, dying from illnesses, to newborns, to first time whatevers.
Right.
I just, it's one of those jobs where you definitely do have to care and have that empathy and what have you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's been some of my frustrations, even working in this field, is there is a lot of bullying in nursing. Of course, I can't speak like on a provider side or anything like that, but unfortunately, there are some people that just seem to not be in it for the right reasons.
Do you think it's money, or is it like that there's a need for it, or what do you think is the motivating factor that you've kind of observed, or that might be?
Well, once you get into those higher levels of income, I do notice there are a lot of people that money obviously does, they like nice things. They like to let you know it. However, I was kind of spoiled when I first got into the medical field, because the very first provider that I worked for, he had been doing this for so long, and he drove, I don't even know how old it was, but it was a really old Honda Civic, and you would never know he was a doctor. He never flashed, anything. And it was back in the days, back of paper charting, actually. And he would go to the hospital in the morning for a couple hours, do rounds. Then he would come over to the clinic. I would room his patients for him. And then at the end of the day, every single person that called, I would line up on the phone for him, and he would call every single patient back. And then he would go back over to the hospital. So he was putting in like 14 to 16-hour days. Now, that's somebody who does not care about money. He really cared about his patients. And the longer that I've been in this field, unfortunately, that's simply just, I don't see that much anymore. And it is really sad. I can't really make a huge generalized statement as far as that goes, but you can definitely tell the people that don't want to be there anymore, or maybe because they're just simply burned out. But it's really important that if you don't have the self-awareness to realize that you are kind of losing that empathy and losing that part of you as a provider of sorts, it's the patients that suffer with that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
your ability to help them fully and help them navigate through a system that's already confusing and difficult, even when you're feeling fine, much less when you're feeling sick or stressed or anything like that. So it's definitely a very interesting um, field to be in, and very difficult to manage just being a nurse in this field. I can't imagine working in the hospital side. I've never worked hospital side. I've always been in the clinic or like outpatient settings, but we all have our battles, that's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely have heard stories. Like I've got friends that are in the medical field, and just some of the stories that I've heard are just like, whoa, like I can't imagine the level of stress that you folks deal with. Like when you have people in there panicking and you know that you have someone's life in your hands. Like that's a lot of responsibility to take in, and you do your best to try to help them. I'm sure there's times where you're just like, there's not much I can do here. Like I'm limited by X, Y, or Z. With the healthcare system the way that it is here, do you feel what are your thoughts on that? Like on how things are run currently with the health insurance and all that?
Yeah, well, for a while, I actually headed up a prior authorization department when I had moved over to Indiana for a time because it was a new practice, and so they didn't have a department there. So it was my job to uh, put everything together. I spoke with the insurance companies, so anytime any of the doctors there in the primary care were ordering any kind of imaging or medications, it would be my job to go in the charts, fill out any prior authorization paperwork to try and get it passed. Oftentimes, I would have to call the insurance companies. I would have to get them on the phone. I'd have to go interrupt the physician when they were in with the patients because you have to catch them while they're on the phone. Otherwise, it'll take forever to get things authorized. So I definitely see where there's always going to be areas in healthcare that it's hard to improve upon it. And I understand that. We hear a lot of things. We hear about like United Healthcare and like people getting denied for like these things. And here it's insurance companies denying these things, but they don't have the medical knowledge that the doctors do. And how do they have the right to make these decisions based on that? Like there are definitely a lot of places that could be made more efficient, that would make more sense. And I don't know what the answers are to all of that. And it's hard because when you have huge companies like that and large amounts of money and persuasion and other things I don't know behind the scenes, it's tough. It really gets to me sometimes because people need their medicines and because they can't afford it or if they can't get it in a timely manner. I mean, that can sometimes be the difference between life or death for some of these patients.
Yeah, that part is just, it's heartbreaking, and it's just to me, it's just mind-blowing that when I hear about the cost of some of these medicines that people have to take in order to just to be alive and to wake up another day. And it's one of those things that I wish we had a better solution. I wish that there was a better answer, and that there was something that we could do to change it. That's kind of what's kind of made me start thinking about my future. I'm just thinking like, I gotta get healthy, and I gotta watch what I eat, exercise, stop drinking, stop the smoking, that type of stuff is.
Well, and that's
I worry
super
about
important.
It is for sure, but I know there's certain things that you just can't help. People are born with certain illnesses that they couldn't help that they were born with it, and then now for the rest of their life they have to depend on certain medications and.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess that is definitely one thing that I would say is, from my understanding, a lot of providers and doctors are not really given the education as far as diet and nutrition, which you would think they would get a lot more of that than they actually do.
Are you talking about giving it to the patients or to giving it to their client?
Just doctors learning as they're going through med school. Like they don't really spend a lot of time being taught about the dietary aspects of a lot of things. I don't know if you notice or know of anybody who's gone through this, but some of the providers just want to kind of push the pills. Or on the other side of things, a lot of patients would prefer to just take a pill and instead of having to work out and eat right and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes to education all around. But if we could maybe change that part of the healthcare system where the providers are more educated on that portion of it, instead of being so quick to just writing a prescription and trying to get the patient out of the room because, there's tons of patients they have to see. I mean, it's a lot to juggle, I understand, but I also think that a lot of these things could also help in the bigger picture and the bigger scope of practice is if we start with the most holistic things that we can first, as far as movement and diet. And a lot of it just comes down to the education part of that the providers just don't get.
I was going to say, unfortunately, too, in this day and age, there's just so much information out there, too, and everything is countering what one thing says. So you can get your information here, and here. You can get in 4 or 5 different places, and all of them are going to tell you completely different ways of how you should lose weight or how you should stay healthy. Or, what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. And that's what makes it really hard. I know for myself, anytime that I'm looking, it's like I find something, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this. But then I read about a little bit more elsewhere, and it's like, oh, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. It's like, so you're getting pulled one way, you're getting pulled the other way, and it gets super frustrating. And it's like, okay, well, how can I get the real facts of? And then you hear about how it's tied to genetics, it's tied to this, and so it's like, well, what the hell is the answer? Or maybe that's just maybe maybe just like with anything else, you have to find what works for you when it comes to the diets that you work. I know that I feel, in my personal opinion, that medicines and pills are pushed. Like it's always a solution for anything. They want to give it to you and tell you to stick to this. This will cure it. This will fix it. This will, and then before you know it, you have all this other stuff that now you have to take this other medication to counter what those side effects are from the other medication that you're taking. And I've gotten to the point, and this is not medical advice from me. This is just me saying what I do. I don't take medication anymore. I stopped doing it. And if I take Advil or Tylenol or whatever, it is ibuprofen, I should say. It is very rare that I will take that. I got to be having a major headache for whatever reason to take it.
That's totally me. That's totally me too. Yeah.
I hate being dependent of anything. And I know damn well that I could probably benefit from medication because I got big time ADHD. I've learned that over the last couple of years of just observing my bad, like crazy habits and how just chaotic I am. And I'm sure I would benefit from taking medication, but then I'd be dependent of it. And then I'd have to, and then who knows what those side effects are going to be from that. And it's like, I'll deal with it. I'll learn to just move with it. I mean, people have lived with this for long before they had a, cure or medication for it. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a time and place, and you bring up a very valid point, is that you have to look at each patient individually, and there are differences. You do have those genetic components you have to think of. You do have to see what diagnoses may affect certain things too that may not be affected by medications either, instead of just jumping straight to medication every single time. But you do have to take every patient into account in their specific situation too, because there is not a one medication fix all type thing, and there are certain conditions where you need medication. Yeah, I'm definitely more of the thought of, hey, if we can fix this more naturally so you don't have to spend money on medication, I think that would definitely help any patient. But some people don't want that either. They'd rather just pop a pill because it's easier, and that's completely up to them. But at the end of the day, it's just like there are so many providers that just seem they just want to write that prescription real quick.
I was gonna say it feels like anytime I've ever gone to the doctor, and I go through Kaiser Permanente, it seems so impersonal. Like I go in there and they might, if they're in there for 5 minutes talking to me for anything that I have going on or whatever, it's 5 minutes at max, and that's like a long time. They're in there usually really quick, and they already have a solution for me, and then they just, like you said, hand you over a prescription and then whatever. And it's like, I remember when I was younger, it didn't seem like it was like that. Maybe it was different when I was younger, but whenever I was a kid and I'd go to the doctor with my mom, it was like your doctor knew you, they knew your medical history, they knew your family's medical history, they took the time to actually look into what was happening or what was going on. And now it's just like you go in there and they don't even know, sometimes they don't even know how to pronounce your name, like my last name or something. It's like, what?
Right. No, yeah, and you're totally right. I've been in this field now for long enough where I have seen the difference of what you speak of, even with them transitioning into having hospitalists at the hospital to save, like that first doctor that I was telling you about who went over to the hospital and then would come over to the clinic. They don't have to do that anymore because they have the hospitalist to take over that part. But I mean, obviously there's a shift in the way things are, and it's profit-based. They want to get patients in and out and as quick as they can, and there's a shortage of primary care doctors and other types of specialists. So I did work for providers. Some would herd them in like cattle, and I can't work for providers like that. Like me as a person, I'm like, I still have a job. I'm still going to listen to that patient if they're actively talking about something or if they're crying in the room about something. I can't work for those types of providers. I mean, some people, they want to keep the providers happy. You have to keep the patients moving, and they don't have all day. And the providers, they have their higher ups that they have to keep happy and go by their policies and rules and getting breath down their backs about things. So it's hard. I can only imagine. I would definitely not ever want to be a provider as far as that goes, but patient care has definitely changed since I first got into the game pretty much right out of high school.
So what is your current title right now? Are you a nurse or you're a nurse?
Yeah,
okay.
So yeah, I'm a nurse, so LPN. I got my nursing license during the pandemic in 2020, so that was definitely interesting. It definitely made me question my choices at that point. That's definitely not something you think that you're ever going to run into as a pandemic situation. So it was definitely a different kind of stress, but I got through it and I've had wonderful experiences. I've worked in many specialties just to kind of see, what kind of nursing do I want to do? So that was a good way to kind of figure that out. So I've worked in multiple specialties. I worked for neurosurgery, OBGYN, high-risk pregnancies. Internal medicine is where I've spent a lot of my time. Endocrinology, so with diabetics. And there are areas that I know I can't work in, like prisons. I once walked through a prison for an interview, and I'm too empathetic for that kind. Plus, the types of populations that are in prisons, they are very manipulative.
I say, yeah, that's you're at a high risk there. In a situation like that, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, so it's been great. I'm glad I got my nursing license, but I have stepped back a little bit from that role. I am currently what's called an oncology data specialist. So they used to call us cancer registrars. And basically what that is I work completely remotely from home, and I capture the complete history, diagnosis, treatment information, and health status of cancer patients. And that data is collected of every single cancer patient in the whole United States. Now, obviously, I don't do every single patient data collection, but I work for a health system based out of Arizona. And so there's a health system in Arizona that I go through records and determine who truly has cancers. And I pull about 200 data items about their cancer, from when did they start radiation? When did they start chemotherapy? What was the name? How long were they on it? What day were they diagnosed? I mean, just anything that you can think of when it comes to cancer. It's their story, and the whole idea and the whole premise is to hopefully finding cures for all these cancers. What is working based on the data that we're collecting?
I've always wondered, you hear about how the cancer rate in like Europe is like so much higher for the cures compared to the United States. Is that true, or is that just something I've maybe just heard that is just a rumor?
No, I mean, I don't know as far as in other countries, because we just focus
the survival rate, I should say, like the survival rate of cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure certain types, I'm sure there's definitely some truth to that, but I don't know the specifics as far as that goes. But certain countries definitely have higher rates of certain cancers. And I know a lot of it can be linked to, diet. If you look at a lot of the studies, they're looking into that. But they also have different registries too, and even here that go by like occupation. So like firefighters. So there's registry for firefighters. But overall, data is collected in all 50 states. And if there is a certain type of cancer that is obviously higher in one area versus another, they're going to look and see it. Is this environmental? Like, what is causing this specifically? So it's definitely a very interesting field, very, very interesting. And so working the back end like that, like, I love it, because That would be awesome to eventually get a cure for every type of cancer if we could.
That would be great. I've always wondered, like, is there maybe like an answer out there that just isn't being shared for the reasons like we were just talking about, where and people will call that conspiracy theorists. That's fine.
Yes.
I've always wondered, I've always wondered if there's just so much profit in big pharma that they pay these doctors, they pay these big companies to continue keeping people sick. I've always wondered if maybe there is a cure out there. I mean, if we're able to have self-driving vehicles and we have all these smart devices and all this technology, but we can't find a cure for these cancers that have been around for so long. It's just like, it just makes me wonder. It's like, is there a cure, but we're just not wanting to get it out there because there's just too much money to be made from the radiations and the pills and all that they put you. And then when you find out how expensive, like I think I read somewhere where a pill was like, for one patient was like $1,000 or something like that, or I don't know how true that is, but I was like, what? That is just, that's insane to think about. And that's something that they need, like we were talking about, to survive, to live, or to, you know, and then you wonder like how good of a quality of life they have even when they take that medication, because you know the radiation here, how people get so sick from that and they feel miserable.
Well, you are not the only person that brought that up. I have heard that argument too, but now working in this field on this side of things, like there would have to be such a huge, you know, like you say, conspiracy about it.
Yeah.
Because to pay people like with what I do, but I also have a cousin who has a PhD and works in the lab overseas. And to know from that side of things, like everything that she has to do in her line of work and these that go into studies for things like that. I mean, it would be so much money just to continuously pay these providers that have to spend, you know, a couple of years on these papers and these studies to submit. And then they have to be peer reviewed. And then, you know, it's all based off of scientific data. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of profit when it comes to medications and things in the cancer field, but I abstract multiple different kinds of cancers. And so I read every day what the doctors, how they explain how some of these cancers work. And I get to see, you know, what kind of radiations are helping certain types of cancers. And it would be a lot to hold that type of a thing up across the world, that there's just like some kind of hidden cure for everything. I mean, if you think of the amount of people, I mean, somebody would be bound to slip up. I mean, there's just no way that would hold.
Eventually. I mean, you never know. Maybe 100 years from now, people will be like, yeah, they had it over at Area 51. They'd been testing it, but they withheld it or whatever.
Gosh, I hope not.
I saw something, and you know, this is all stuff that you just see online, and there's a lot of silliness and craziness online. But I saw something online about how some veterinarian scientists had discovered something that would help make your dog live a lot longer, or your pets. And that was going to be released sometime in the next couple of years or something like that. And I got really excited about that. I was like, I would love for my dogs to be able to live, but then you wonder like, what would that quality of life be like for them? But I know that their bodies, I think they grow a lot faster or older faster than humans. So maybe it slows down the aging process or something. I'm not 100% sure on what that is, but it could be just some hoax that was online but I saw it a lot. It was getting posted everywhere. And I literally question everything. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, but
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
I'm a person I'm that problem child that was like at the office. I'm that guy that asks the questions that no one else wants to ask, but everyone's thinking. And then the bosses are like, damn you, hold on, we'll come back to that. We'll answer that question next week. And then it's like stirring the pot kind of but at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm really curious. I'm not really trying to get everyone riled up, but I'm thinking of stuff that you probably weren't thinking of, or maybe that you just didn't want to
speak up about or something.
It's a can of worms you don't want to open up.
Right.
What would you say, like, is there a moment in your career that you've done this where it just really like just tugged at your heart and that will always stand out, whether that be with the patient or something you saw or something? What can you think of one moment right now, if I was to ask you, like, where it tugged on your heart and you were just like, oh my God? Can you do you have any stories like that of a moment that just really just got personal to you, like where you're just like, oh my God?
Oh boy, that's
I'm
really
sure there's
hard
plenty, but
because yeah, there definitely is. I would say, especially because I do love the geriatric population. So when it comes to anything having to do with like end of life situations, which I experienced personally with my grandfather. It was the first time I actually sat with him through that death and dying process, and so
oh,
it's always sad and difficult to navigate. It's one thing to do it in a professional manner, but it's different in a personal manner as well. So that always definitely tugs at my heartstrings. And also having worked in OBGYN and perinatology, which perinatology is high-risk pregnancy, there are pregnant women getting bad news all the time of how their fetus was not going to survive the pregnancy. So there
oh
were
my
a lot of
goodness.
tears in that department.
Yeah, that hits close to home. I have some close
Yeah.
family members that have dealt with that and friends, and
I don't know.
that's
So
just I
sorry.
can't imagine. I
Yeah.
cannot imagine that. Like, I'm not a dad. I don't have any kids, but I do have a nephew, and I know what it did to me when he was born. Like, it just when people say that when you have a kid or whatever, like you instantly know what love is. I knew instantly, like when he was born. There was this connection. I even teared up myself. I had to step out of the room when I saw him because I was just like, oh my God, like all these emotions that I just couldn't explain. I never felt before. But I can't imagine like a mother that's been carrying a fetus to all of a sudden get the news that, it's no longer
Yeah,
alive.
that was tough. In perinatology, it was definitely probably one of the roughest areas I've worked in, just because of that component of death and them having to carry them to term sometimes, just knowing that the child was not going to survive. I mean, it's just a whole nother toll on your mental health that I don't think people necessarily think about. And, they just don't have a choice in the matter. And the safety of it, sometimes they have to just go through the whole birthing process. And so it's a lot. And mental health just in general has always also been very dear to my heart too, because they can't help it. And so when we talk about like mental illness and like PTSD and things like that, people can be judgmental in cases like that. However, I have known people to have severe mental illness, that have had issues with dissociating. I mean, severe trauma, anger, and it's just very sad because it's like, who chooses to have mental illness? I mean, it's not like anybody would truly want to feel that way on a daily basis or to be like, yes, I mean, okay, I'll have some mental illness today. Yeah, it's totally a choice. I mean, obviously it's not. So my heart goes out to those types of patients, especially too, because a lot of times they are kind of villainized. And I worked in a methadone clinic for a time. And I really enjoyed it. Everybody was super nice. They would come in for their visits. And the best thing you can do for any kind of patient is just show them that you understand that they're human and to not judge them because they're not going to open up if you're completely judgmental or you're rude or you're very quick with them. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all patients. We
Yeah.
all have our issues. And my job as a nurse is to provide the best care that I can and listen to you and try and help you. So whether that be a prisoner, whether that be somebody in a methadone clinic, I mean, my job at the end of the day is to try and help you.
Yeah. And like I said, again, I give mad props to anyone that does what you do and mad props to you because it does take a lot of empathy and a lot of patience. And I'm one of those people that I definitely couldn't do it for a number of reasons. I know that I would get too choked up in those situations. I tend to be a person that when it's a fight or flight, I don't know which one I'm going to be. I could be either or. And I know that you need to be really good about, being able to react on the fly and in a good way, not like freeze up. Also, I'm always on the guard, I would say. So I'm always wondering like what people's true intentions are. So it could be really easy for me to be kind of judgy in a way, not judgy but judgy in a like, all right, I got my guard up. I got to be careful with so-and-so or with people, just people in general. I actually don't leave my house much anymore. I avoid leaving the house. I do go out, yes. That's an exaggeration, but I prefer to be home nowadays more than I like to be out because there is a lot of people out there that, it's safer. And mental health is one thing, but I think it's another thing where people have just become careless about things like where, and I'm not talking about people that have mental health issues. I'm talking about people that just are so impatient with others and they want to take out their frustrations on other things that they see that are happening around the world or in their lives. And so it's easy for them to go up to a random stranger, just punch them in the face. Or, you hear about the crazy people that will, if you honk at them, they follow you. And then there was a guy here not too long ago. Someone honked at someone on the freeway. They followed him out to the store, and then broad daylight just come out and they blew the person's head off.
Gosh, yeah, that's so
and
scary.
It was over the
worry
honking
about that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, you know what? I can't. I've been in customer service before for so long. I just can't deal with people very much anymore, or I just don't have the patience. So, like, again, I give mad props to you for having the empathy and looking at things in a different way. And as I've gotten older, I have gotten better about trying to be empathetic and trying to understand people from their point of view, not just always being so close-minded and just considering that, knowing the fact that everyone is going through something. And then you also don't know when you're out and about if the thing that you do, whether you cut them off on the freeway or flip them off because they cut you off or whatever, that might be the point where they're just like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go do something crazy right now, whether that's to you or back at home. Like, you hear about people killing their own family members and all that stuff too, just as they are in a moment of rage. And with mental health, I love that it's becoming more aware now and people are talking about it more. As far as I know you mentioned you worked with the cancer numbers. Have you noticed that the numbers have been going up since you started doing that, or are they kind of just staying like the same? Or
well, so I work with the health system in Arizona, so specific to that, I can say, as far as what I abstract, I notice probably the number one amount of cases, there's more breast cases. Breast cancers are definitely going up, just in general, and colon cancer as well. Yeah, I'm sure you've probably heard about that. Yes, but there are definitely advances too. And so I just recently heard that there's a study that there may be some advances with pancreatic cancer in, I believe it was mice or rats. Generally, they do studies on rats. So hopefully that is good news for pancreatic cancer, because obviously, usually by the time you're diagnosed with that, it's usually fatal. Not always, but it is one of those cancers that unfortunately we don't really have good screening for. And my great-grandmother passed from pancreatic cancer, so I'm really hopeful that there will definitely be some good news on that front as far as cancer. But yeah, definitely a very interesting area for sure. And mental health, I wish there were across the board mental health services that would help everybody, even from birth, not necessarily from birth, but, as young children, like starting at that level, I think could help so much. And then for people that are diagnosed with major life altering things for them, just to be able to have that access would help. And even with medical diagnosis and having that support system, I mean, I can tell you a story personally that with my grandfather back in the early 90s, he got the diagnosis of colon cancer, and that is what he actually passed from. He was given a diagnosis and it was terminal, and because the provider was not very good when it came to the bedside manner, he was very cold. He said verbatim, you can either die in the hospital or you can die at home. And because he had said it in such a way, my grandfather gave up and he passed away like in 2 days. So it's so important, the mind in general. I mean, there are people that will fight and they will last longer than somebody that completely just gives up. I mean, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, it's with cancer, it's one of those things that I had family members pass from it, and I've had family members that have survived it, and it's so weird how cancer can do. You can have two people that get diagnosed, and one can go one route and the other one can go the other route, and then before you know it, one might survive and the other one might be living still. And it's one of those things. I wish that we had a cure for it. You hear about all these sad cases, and it's like, why the hell do we not have a cure? Why is that not a priority right now? And I'm sure it is to get a cure for it, but I just feel like with all the things that we have, the advances in technology and all that we would have something for something that's taken so many lives away from us.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely working on it, and the data is out there, but like you said too, I don't think it's out there enough. There's so much information out there, but it's also hard at the same time to decipher what is true, what isn't, what's conspiracy and what's not, and that's unfortunate too. But I can say I have seen that there are advances. I mean, people are still living longer. The cancers that did used to ultimately be a death sentence several years ago, that's no longer the case. But then on the flip side, now we have rising colon cancer cases, and so their focus is shifting to that. Well, what has changed? And so there's always something that is evolving or something that is changing, that they're always just having to run tests and all these studies. So we're all working together. I mean, I would hope that every medical professional is getting into it to ultimately help people, and not just for the money, but a lot of work goes into everybody working together, and whether it be for cancer or heart disease or any realm in the medical field like that, just hopefully someday we'll get there. We're not going to live forever. I understand that, but I think there are a lot of good things out there that people aren't aware of.
Definitely. I hear constantly about this advanced technology that doctors are able to perform some sort of surgeries and work by remote. Is that correct? Is that true?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, if you're talking about like the robots, I know there are providers that can do it remotely, with patients being in an operating room and then being elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, I haven't known any providers personally that have been able to do that, but it's definitely an interesting concept. I mean, it definitely scares me, but the technologies that they have are definitely amazing. And hey, if that's your best chance or the only way to do it,
Yeah, I mean, if you have a doctor that specializes in a certain surgery that, is needed, why not? Like, but it blew my mind when I first found out about that and I heard about it. I was like, what? No, like this is unreal. Like, I don't know if I would trust it, but at the same time, if you're in a situation where you don't know, like the doctor may say, like, I don't have any experiences, but I recommend this person. They're out in this other country, or they're in this completely across the states, that could be an option. I think that's one of those calls that you would have to make, obviously, for yourself if you feel like that's your best bet. But when I found out about that, I was just like, wow, like, it's wild that we have that kind of technology, that doctors are using that. But I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I love seeing that we're able to find alternate ways for doctors to be able to perform that kind of work.
Yeah, I mean, technology in general, it's always been a love-hate relationship for me, which is funny to say considering, like I said, I wanted to work with computers to begin with, but medical and technology and robotics and things like that do go together really well in the advancements that go, and as far as, even transplants and things like that are not always human tissue. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of things you have to take into consideration when making decisions when it comes to that type of thing. But I think overall, it's an awesome thing to be able to have those types of technologies to do that.
Do you ever shadow? Are you like ever able to like shadow the doctors and go see some of the things that you typically wouldn't do with your job, just to kind of get better understanding of how it all works? Or is that just not a possibility that happens with nursing?
Yeah, so definitely not my current role, but as a nurse in general, yeah, I mean, I would say when I worked in cardiology for a time, I was able to go into the cath lab, and there's different areas of the cardiology field. I don't know how many people may know that. I didn't really know that going in, but I worked for the area which we basically called the plumbing. Basically, if you had clogged arteries, and you needed angios done, that's what we would take care of. There's another section called the EP, or electrophysiology part of cardiology, where it has to do with like heart rhythms. So one time I got to go into the operating room with them and watch them, and they would do this for hours on end. I don't know how they do it, but if there was a arrhythmia, they went into the heart and they were basically just kind of poking all these areas on the inside of the heart, trying to find this one specific spot. And they would do that for like hours on end. I wouldn't want to be that kind of a cardiologist, but man, they have such a passion to do that. And that's probably the closest as far as watching, being in the OR and the instrumentation. I thought it was kind of neat how in the OR too, when they get all gowned up, so they don't have to carry the weight while they're standing there and operating over the patient. They just like stepped into this clothing, and it was being held up. So that way they didn't have the weight like on their shoulders and on their body, but they were still completely protected. So I thought that was a really good idea, because you don't really think of those things, like just standing there and then having that extra weight would, over time, you'd be really fatigued. So that was kind of neat to see firsthand too. Just things like that you don't think about or you don't see because you're generally under if you're the one in the OR. So unless you work there, you don't know.
Would you say that you've seen a huge improvement as far as the technology and just the advances in the healthcare system since when you first started to now? Like a huge leap, or do you kind of it's been kind of slow, or would you say fast, or would you say it's kind of stayed the same?
It's hard to say. So I've worked in a lot of different specialties, and so I haven't been able to see for a long period of time. I don't think I've been maybe in one specialty long enough to kind of see those kind of advances or to necessarily keep up. But I'm always interested in reading like new studies and new advances. I do know people that work in the fields as far as when they go to practice. And it's not just medications. I mean, they have people that go in and they actually talk about these types of services that they offer, and they'll have people that work for companies. And then when they go into the OR, like the person from that company will come in with that. So I would say primarily when I was in cardiology and like the heart valves and things like that, there were definitely advances there. But yeah, other than that, I've kind of mainly just been in the outpatient setting, primary care type area. So not necessarily like surgery related, but I mean, I know there's just so much out there and they're always trying to develop and find ways to advance procedures, because you think about infection rates, you really want to keep infection rates down. And so I think that's where a lot of technology comes into, is how can we make it safer for the patient and to avoid when we're talking about invasive procedures and preventing infections and things like that.
And where do you see yourself in like 10 years? Do you see yourself still in healthcare, or what part of healthcare, or what are your career goals for the healthcare future?
It's a great question. Great question. I mean, it's in my blood. I will definitely never leave the medical field completely. Since high school, like I said, I started there. I got my medical assistant. I was a medical assistant for 10 years before I even got my nursing license. I also have my health information management degree. I went for that with a specialization in the cancer registry. So I have that as well. I'm big on education. I'm big on helping people. The day that I lose my empathy or I lose my desire to help people, it's not going to be a good day. I just don't think it's in my blood to help people. So yeah, I would say in 10 years, I don't really know. I will be in the medical field. I guess that's all I can say.
I love that I can hear the passion in your voice, and I can tell that you're authentic about about caring and showing empathy, not like this fakeness about it. So I think with like I said, with this type of role, when you're in healthcare, you do have to have those characteristics, because otherwise you're probably going to have it's going to be very tough when you have jerks like me in there. If you're dealing with my mom, or you're dealing with one of my family members and you're mistreating them, I'm the jackass that will be a dick back, and I will raise hell, and I'll go to the supervisors, the managers, or whatever. I'll raise all sorts of hell. You know what I mean? So I know people take their family very serious when it comes to them being at the doctor or at the hospital. And like I said, I've had to unfortunately deal with nasty RNs and all that before in the past, where it's like, why are you doing this job if you absolutely cannot handle a situation like this,
Well, and I feel the same way. And that's been my biggest question too, is because I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of bullying in nursing alone. It's just like, I thought we were in this together. I thought we were in it to help patients, and that, sadly, it's not always the case. And it's just baffling to me.
Are you talking
when you come
bullying?
across people like that?
Are you talking bullying like within like coworkers to coworkers, or bullying the patients, or both?
Yeah, no, coworkers to coworkers, especially. I mean, I would say I would rather put up with the meanest patient than the worst bully in the nursing field. It's just a whole different dynamic.
I wonder if it's a competitive thing, like where they maybe feel like you're a threat
Yeah.
to them, and maybe that's why they do that. But some people are just they're that way. They're just jerks.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have it anywhere. Like I totally get that too. But you do what you do, and as long as nobody gets in my way of being able to take care of a patient, like I can work around those things. But you talking as, you know, going in with your family member and things like that and feeling some type of way. I also get frustrated with providers that are very dismissive when it comes to patients. And that's really hard to see, especially if you're in the same room or having to work for that kind of provider. And I think it's so important. And I always tell patients, you have to be your own advocate. Like, you know, get that second opinion, get that third opinion if you have to. And like we talked before, providers are always so quick to write prescriptions. And even in my own personal life, my own provider is more than willing to write prescriptions. And I'm the one that says no. You know, like I want to find the cause. I don't want to just jump to a prescription to figure it out. And they listen. So I think it's really important for people to know and not ever feel bad that if you don't feel that you're being treated appropriately, if you don't think that they're listening to you, you have every right to go get a second opinion. And I kind of have a story about that.
Let's hear it, because you know what? You bring up a good point. I've had several people that I've seen on social media that I know, and actually family members too, where they go to the doctor and the doctor does not believe them, or they want to give them a prescription, or they just don't consider what they're saying. They think that it's all in their head. And it's like, if this person is constantly having these issues and they keep telling you, like, why don't you find an alternative than the same thing that you're saying to them, and how do you deal with that? So that is a common theme that I've heard many people say, that they don't feel heard when they go to the doctor, and their doctor just wants to like kind of basically just get them on some medication or get them out of their way. So I love that you're giving that advice, that you have to be your own advocate. You have to go get a second or third opinion, sometimes even more, just depending on if you feel like something is wrong with your body better than anybody else.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And that's totally the thing. And, you know, with this example, it just shows how important it is to be your own advocate. And it's understandable. I'm not a provider, but I can certainly imagine that when you see so many patients a day and they're complaining of, say, maybe the same things or, you know, what have you, but you have to think that there are diagnoses out there that are rare. You don't come across them very often. And you could be making a huge difference in this person's life if you're not, you know, self-aware that you're just kind of, I guess where it would be like desensitized. So, you know, maybe they're coming from that aspect as far as like, oh my gosh, I just hear all these hypochondriacs and nothing ever comes back wrong. And so they're kind of desensitized to listening to all these complaints, and they just see black and white. But like I said, when you look at a patient, you have to treat them as an individual. You have to look at the bigger picture of things, but you also have to look into that particular patient of what could be going on. So yeah, my one example is a friend of mine was just recently diagnosed within the last few years with diabetes insipidus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I'm not.
So essentially, it's not the diabetes with the blood sugar, but essentially it's just characterized by excessive urine output and extreme thirst. So it has to do with our antidiuretic hormone. So if you were to say, for an example, drink an 8-ounce glass of water, you could put out 24 ounces of urine. Well, that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So this was going on for my friend for over 20 years before they got the diagnosis. They said growing up and going to school, even in elementary school, they have to, you know, raise their hand. I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. And over time, like the teacher just didn't believe them, you know, thought, oh, it was just an excuse to go out into the hall and talk or wander around. But for over 20 years, they just felt like nobody was listening. Like, this is a problem. You know, I'm going to the bathroom like so much more than I should be. And only an endocrinologist can actually diagnose this specific condition. 0.004% of the people worldwide have this. So it's pretty rare. And so when I talk about providers not listening to their patients, you know, you have to listen to your patients. Like for 20 years, like something was going on. And so to not send this person to a specialist to try and figure out what's going on and just to kind of be dismissive about it, that, oh, you just need this or that. Of course, there's more major diagnosis that providers are dismissive about too. But yeah, at the end of the day, if they are not listening to you or you do not feel that they are listening to you, you have to be your own advocate, especially in this crazy medical system where everything is super fast. You may get like 5 or 10 minutes with a provider. So definitely go in with your questions and make sure to have your ducks in a row the best you can and utilize their time. But I mean, for me, I have to have a provider that listens to me. And you can definitely tell the ones that do and the ones that don't.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe even bringing in notes if you're keeping track of certain things or behaviors that are happening or when it's happening and that kind of stuff. Maybe that will help. I love the advice you're giving because I feel like that's a common thing I've seen people complain about. Aside from, the cost of medications and constantly wanting to put people on medication, it's like the doctor doesn't listen. So it's a very common thing. So
definitely.
I'm hoping that at some point that can change where, we have people in there that actually have passions for helping people. So looks like we're at the over an hour mark here. Is there anything else you cared to share with the listeners about any other stories or sound advice you could give for anyone that may be having challenges with their any of their medical inquiries or issues?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much covered most that I can think of, but definitely always be your own advocate, like we just talked about. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. There are no dumb questions. Listen to your body. And a lot of it is just finding the resources out there. There are resources out there. There are areas for prescription help coverage. And a big one too is when it comes to prescriptions, a lot of people kind of forget, utilize your pharmacist. If you have a question on a medication, it's going to be a lot quicker to get answers if you call a pharmacist to ask than if you call into your provider, leave that phone message, and maybe a day or two before somebody gets back to you. Utilize the pharmacist for medication questions. They're a really good resource. Case managers, if it comes to hospitalizations, hospital questions, case managers are a really good source of being able to find like local areas as well that I may not know as a nurse in this state, but in your state, there may be other resources. So if you can find a case manager. So it's not just, you don't have to get into the doctor for every little thing. You don't have to ask them every little thing. There are a lot of resources out there. There are people that want to help. Just come together and talk to people, search forums, do talk amongst yourself. But in this day and age, you do have to be careful with, what's out there on TikTok and social media and this thing. And so you still listen to the science, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just really important to listen to your body, listen to yourself, and make sure your provider is providing the same.
What are your thoughts on people that go on WebMD? Because I'm sure that could be frustrating when someone goes in there, and it's good information to kind of like consider, but then you get the hypochondriacs, like you were just talking about, and then they think they come in there and they're throwing all this knowledge, that they read, and the knowledge may be information that's correct, but it's not applicable to their situation, and you have your records to show like, well, here we did these tests, but they're so hell-bent on, well, I saw this on WebMD, blah, blah, blah. And like, does that ever get frustrating, or how do you typically handle a situation like that when someone comes in that's WebMD certified?
Yeah, no, totally. It is a fairly reputable source, but like I said, it depends individually what's going on too, so it may not be right. So I would say if you're doing your own research, that's fine. Write that down in your notepad. If that's a question, just say, hey, doctor, I read this about this. Is this something that you think would be worth looking into or testing for? So definitely make sure you have that provider that will listen to you and will be honest with you to maybe search that route. But also try not to look at that so much to the point where you've kind of already made your mind up that that's what it is. And do trust that the nurse and the provider, they're going to ask you the questions that are most pertinent and that are important to them. And I know it doesn't make sense always as a patient, but our minds as medical professionals, we're already thinking 5 steps ahead. So we're already asking more pertinent questions than I think a lot of patients can realize too, that will give us a lot more information than a patient may think. So and I even have to tell my own grandmother that is just, they're going to ask the right questions that will help them. So answer their questions, but don't get so involved with the details and so set on, that you've read this thing or that thing, because it's just, they don't have the time to explain the physiology and the studies that they've gone through for this. As long as they're not being dismissive or they give a true answer that I really don't think that is the thing because of XYZ, but if things don't improve, we certainly could take that path. So yeah, I mean, it's not really a black and white answer. It's difficult, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if you're looking into things online, because like I said, there are those rare diagnoses and those rare things out there that a lot of people don't have that can certainly not be thought of and dismissed by a provider.
Awesome. I love it, Danielle. You provided with a lot of great information. And again, I can tell the passion in your voice. And I love that, that you're doing something that you love, and that knowing that there's people out there that do care about their patients and do care about their work, that gives me hope. And I'm sure listeners out there it gives them comfort knowing that there is people out there that do care about the work that they're doing. And, and me as a person, I appreciate knowing that someone's out there that cares and puts the effort into the work, especially with this type of work.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. And hopefully we'll get you on again sometime and we can discuss anything else that maybe we didn't miss and think back on. But thanks for being a guest on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to talk to you.
And that is the end of segment 2. Thank you for tuning in this week, guys. Again, as always, big shout out to our monetary contributors and subscribers, Eric Sheets and King John. Thank you so much for your contributions monetary wise for this podcast. If anyone out there wants to be donating, no amount is too small to donate, and we appreciate it because it does cost money to run the podcast for the programs and the softwares that we use, the equipment and all that fun stuff. So if you click on the Buzzsprout or you look inside the Spotify or whatever, there is an option on there to donate a monthly subscription towards this podcast, and I appreciate all of you that do. That helps us big time. Other than that, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. So I always like to give a thank you and shout out to all of you guys that tune in and listen, all of you that constantly mention or talk on the question of the week and provide your thoughts. I love that. I love being able to discuss these things with you guys and hear your insights.
And we love hanging with you.
I love hanging with you, yeah. And we might end up going to video here soon, so that way people can see our faces and the puppies. But I just got to clean up.
You can't see me right now.
I know, it's early in the morning. So thank you guys all so much. And please keep spreading the word about the podcast. Please keep tuning in, sharing it, and we'll talk to you next week.
In the words of Whitney Cummings,
Be sure to find us on all social media platforms, follow and subscribe.